I'm going to give you 4 things, and you tell me which one will Kyle do first. 4 things, which one will Kyle do first? Will he fake a punt? Will he fake a field goal? Will he actually use a hurry-up offense? Or will he admit that he's wrong in a press conference? Which one of those will he do first? I'll repeat. Will he fake a field goal in a game? And I'm not talking an exhibition game, a real game. Will he fake a punt? Will he fake a field goal? Will he actually use a hurry-up offense? Or will he admit to being wrong? You could go none of the above.
You can immediately rule out admit to being wrong. That's out. Never gonna happen.
Okay.
That's out.
Process of elimination.
Yeah. So what was the third one? Hurry up. As with Brock Purdy at quarterback, not going to happen. So that one's out. Wow. And then we're talking fake kicks, fake field goal,
or fake punt.
That's never going to happen. They did fake one punt, and he didn't call for it. Wisnowski called it on his own and got the first down. This was 2 years ago, I want to say. So I want to say that one just because Mitch Wisnowski can take matters into his own hands.
The punter had to do it on his own. Yeah.
He had to do it on his own. Yeah.
Kyle gets no credit for doing that.
Zero credit. He even said, like, I would,
So I brought up that question to just kind of point to, what we talk about a lot is just, the stubbornness and the not willing to change on philosophies and self-analyze yourself. Those are all risks. And the 49ers have become an organization. And since Kyle is like the face of the franchise, it's like they're following by his lead. Jed follows, John Lynch follows, everybody follows. And that's this: don't take risk, be cautious, be safe. And that's not how you win championships. Like, the most successful businessmen in the world take risk. And it should be that way in the sports world as well. So I asked that question because I figured it would be none of the above. But if you had to choose one, that's a good one. But the punter gets credit for it, not him.
To me, what's funny is like the only team that should be able to get away with changing nothing about their philosophy is a team like the Chiefs. That's won 2 Super Bowls in a row, and you're like, okay, we really don't want to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like for a team like that applies. And even the Chiefs are constantly churning their roster and bringing in new players, but ultimately they're allowed to keep things as uniform as possible. The Niners aren't that team. You haven't won anything. You haven't shown that your philosophy or mode of doing, modus operandi, your MO, whatever, works on that level. You've proven that you can be second place or fourth place with this, but not first place. So when the Chiefs come up short, they make big changes. They take it very seriously. They act like it's the worst thing that ever happened, and they will make sweeping changes to their philosophy, the kind of offense they want to be. I mean, they got rid of Tyreek Hill. The Niners, when they lose, are like, we got to stay the course here. We got to keep this team together. We can't overreact. The Chiefs do, and you don't. That's a big problem with these organizations. The Niners are a little delusional, and I think the media feeds into it. The media is constantly telling them how great they are, and they believe it.
And they do believe it. And they talk about it on those that have podcasts. They brag about how they've been the best team in football for 5 years. But I'm glad you mentioned Tyreek Hill. They won a Super Bowl with Tyreek Hill, and he made the play that changed Super Bowl 54 with that 3rd and 15. Mm-hmm. And the Chiefs had the balls to actually move off of him. Uh-huh. Their fan base must have went crazy going, how the hell can you give up on Tyreek Hill, the most dynamic wide receiver?
And he was still great.
And he was still great. It wasn't like he was over the hill. He was in his prime. He was still great. They traded for extra picks. They hit on those picks. They were able to use the salary they would have had to pay him. Pay other guys. They upgraded their offensive line, got better there because they saw and they learned from the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, hey, we can have the best quarterback in the league, generational talent, but if he's not protected, it don't mean shit. So they adjusted, and that's after they won a Super Bowl. So hey, that's why they are.
Yeah, the Chiefs learned that lesson 4 years ago or something. If we can't protect our quarterback, none of these weapons mean shit. They figured that out. And their weapons are like decidedly frumpy. Like no one's scared of any of their weapons. There's not one player they have where you're like, oh my God, what are we going to do with 35-year-old Travis Kelce? Nope. Nope. And yet they lost 2 games this year and very well could win their 3rd straight Super Bowl.
And they have the best D coordinator possibly in the league, the best special teams coordinator in the league, and the best offensive play caller in the league. So their talent doesn't need to be like exactly top notch, but because their coaching is such at a high level on all 3 levels, and again, that goes back to Kyle and his philosophies. You can't, run a race and win it at 66.7%. And I say that because he does not prioritize special teams. And special teams has lost the Niners so many big games under his watch. Fix it. Self-analyze.
We're talking about his philosophies. I love how you started with that question about what's going to happen first. All right, here's another thing that really illustrates Kyle's philosophy. And to me, this is like one of the things that's most annoying about him, because he's good, but he thinks he's better than he is. And he does these like cute little things that no one else would do that he thinks is like really cool. His overinvestment in the fullback position. Like, dude, this guy, Kyle Juszczyk, his cap number this year is $6.5 million. There is only one offensive lineman on the team who has a cap number above that. It's Trent Williams. Every other guy makes less. How can you justify spending more on a fullback than a right tackle when your right tackle isn't good and he's on his 2nd contract? More on a fullback than a center, and he's on his 2nd or his 3rd contract. Like, I understand Pooney making less because he's on his rookie deal, but you should be investing in offensive linemen before freaking fullbacks. Are you kidding? Are you kidding?
You use the right word. He wants to be cute. He wants to be different. It's like, hey, look at me. Like, I'm doing what the rest of the league is not doing, and we're gonna win because of it. It's like, dude, check your ego. Do what's best for the team, not for Kyle Shanahan. And I think that's what a lot of people don't hold him accountable for, is that ego. I heard and read a story recently. I don't know if this is true. Maybe he keeps cameras on all the other coaches' meetings so he can kind of like, follow what's being said. Like, so nothing is secretive. Like, he knows what the offensive line coaches meeting is doing. He's in the defensive coaches meetings. He's in the running back rooms meeting. Wow, if that's true, like, that is a power-hungry, egotistical person, and I don't know why he's not called out for that. It's about trust when you have an organization.
My issue with Kyle's like, I feel like most coaches are probably power-hungry and egotistical. I'm just trying to be honest. I think Robert Saleh, even though he's very well-polished, is probably power-hungry and egotistical. I probably am to a degree. I think a lot of people are, but like, what gets me about him is I think it's the lack of self-esteem, if I can kind of be an amateur psychologist here, because I think if you have a big ego and a healthy self-esteem, you can take criticism. You can say, look, I think the world of myself. I think I'm that good. I really do. I believe I'm the best. But I also, if you say I messed this up, I can think about it and be like, yeah, I did. And I still think I'm the best, but I'll take the heat for this. If you have a fragile self-esteem, then you can't take that criticism. You get angry when people try to, what are you talking about? I'm the best. Like, that's a whole different thing. And that's something that I can't, it's not that I don't respect it. It's almost like, ooh, that's an impediment. And that's going to keep getting in your way and the team's way. And it's like, I don't know that you can necessarily change that fundamental part of your personality. It's who you are.
And I know Jed can't say nothing to him because Jed is just this, just a feeble. He's not going to say, he's not Eddie. He's not going to go up and tell Kyle about coaching. But John Lynch is a Hall of Famer. I can't believe behind closed doors, John Lynch is not talking to him about all these things that we talk about, saying, Kyle, like, we need to really look at this and do something about it. I would think Kyle would respect him. I don't care if you hire John Lynch. If I'm talking to Kyle, I don't care if you were the one to pick and hire John. Like, he's not beneath you. He has a longer resume and better credentials than you, so you should maybe listen to him. Or how about Bobby Turner, who's been doing it 20 years longer than you have? Like, who does Kyle answer to and listen to? I feel if they bring Saul, and we started with that, Grant, if they bring him back, that's just another yes man in the group. Like, I like presidents that they have.
Kyle's self-esteem can't take criticism. It's not his ego. It's his self-esteem.
You have to be able to have people in the room that are going to tell you, no, you're wrong there. You can't have
And you
everybody
have to have the self-esteem to be able to hear that and say, okay, I hear you. I could be wrong.
Yep. Yep.
I could be wrong and still have confidence in myself in this operation. But once you confront him with the you did something wrong, he's like, he like goes haywire. We talk does not compute. Like, no, man, you're not infallible. You make mistakes, and it would make you seem so much more human to be like, you know what, this is an area. This is a moment. And don't be vague about it. Like, of course, everything is my responsibility. Like, no. Say something specific the way you do about all your players. You don't pull punches with your players. When you talk about, when someone says, what do you think of Brock today? Well, you know, by no means was he perfect. Of course, he'd like those interceptions back. And on that interception, you know, he tried to layer it, but he didn't see it. It's like, you'll break it all down for people. Just keeping it real. If you would do that with yourself, people would like you so much more. You'd have so many more people on your side. You wouldn't be as polarizing as you are. I
feel like the media and everybody surrounding Kyle should use reverse psychology on him. Maybe that'll work. So you know how like people like, you know what, you should use JP Mason when CMC comes back, and he hears that and he's like, no, screw you. I'm going to do the opposite.
Don't use JP Mason.
Go the opposite. Yeah.
Oh,
use CMC all the time. Please do that, and then he'll might factor in whoever the backup running back is. You know, Jake Benrell is like an all-star. Please don't even consider. Keep him. Yeah. Give him an extension.
You joke, but there's something to this. Like his self-esteem will not let someone else tell him what to do. He needs to be the person who had the idea and made the decision, even if it's a bad one. Because God forbid Los D said it first. He's like, well, I don't want it to be seen that I was taking Los D's advice. God forbid it was good advice. Meanwhile, Andy Reid has such high self-esteem that he can be walking around the facility, bump into the freaking janitor, and the janitor says, hey, Andy, I wrote this play down on a piece of paper. What do you think? And he's like, damn it, it's good. I like it. I should have thought of it. I'm using it. Thank you very much. I mean, that's what you want in a leader.
Yep. When the Warriors were down 2-1 in the finals.
I know what you're going to say.
You know where I'm going to go. And,
hell yeah.
And there was a freaking intern. He wasn't even getting a
video intern. I forget his name.
Yeah, he wasn't even getting a paycheck from the organization. Came up with an idea, putting Iguodala in the starting lineup, going small, and being fast.
That changed the whole. It was like that changed the whole dynasty. It created the dynasty.
Changed the whole series. And Steve Kerr, being the type of forget about coach, just human being that he is, he could have taken credit and said, "Oh, this is my change," and everybody would have ran with it. But he gave credit to this intern, who I forget his name as well. That's humbleness, and that's being open-minded. And unless Kyle changes to being something like that, or I mean, he'll never be Steve Kerr, or even close to that, and self-analyze himself, then it's just not going to happen. The window
and Steve Kerr is so smart and savvy that he understood he would look better by saying my intern had the idea, and I took it because I was open-minded, than saying it was my idea. Saying it's my idea makes him seem like a genius, but to say it was some kid's idea,
right,
and you went with it, that just makes you seem like you have wisdom.
Yep.
Right? The first one is like, okay, you're clever, you're smart. But the second one is like, man, I'm wise enough to know what I don't know. And I'm wise enough to understand a good idea when it comes across, and I'm humble enough to give it proper attribution. I mean, those are qualities you want from a leader. And Kyle, for all of his good qualities, they mostly fall under the umbrella of offensive coordinator, play caller. These are all more intangible stuff that leaders have.